Okay, welcome to lesson 9.4 on solving surface area problems. Okay, and we got to find out how do you find surface area and of a figure made up of cubes and prisms. Okay, modeling surface area of a prism. So the surface area of a three-dimensional figure is the sum of the areas of its surfaces. So we're talking about the surface of this figure. We're not talking about what's inside, which is the volume of the figure, just the surface area. You know how to use the net of a figure back in 6th grade to find the surface area. Now you will discover a formula that you can use. So one approach is just add up all of the surfaces that you see. And we're going to transfer this to a formula that you can use. So the lateral area, which is the side area. So that's the area of these sides is the lateral sides of a prism, is the area of all the faces except for the bases. Okay, so the lateral area is 2 times 160. So we're gonna add up all these. So all of these areas here, all the side ones, 2 times 160. Well, we get 20 times 8 is 160. And then it's going to be 20 times 15 for that. And 20 times 15 is 300. And we're multiplying each of these by 2 because there's 2 sides right here. And there's front and back. Those are going to be the same area as well. So 2 times 160 plus 2 times 300. That gives us a number of 920. And the area, the base, the area of each base is the big B. And you get that by multiplying 8 times 15. And 8 times 15 is 120. Now, the total surface area is that lateral area, which was all this, the 920, that's the lateral area. And each of these are the base areas because there's 2 bases there. When you add them all up, you get 1,160 square millimeters. That is the total surface area. So let's put this together. Use the net above to answer this question. How does the product of the perimeter of the base of the prism and the height of the prism compare to the lateral area? Well, that lateral area actually is the perimeter of the base times the height. So you could take the perimeter of this base, 8 plus 15 plus 8 plus 15, and multiply it by the height, and you would get that same 920. I guess it's a bit of a shortcut. Okay, how can you express the surface area of the prism in terms of perimeter of the base? That P is the base perimeter. And you definitely write these down. Big P is base perimeter. The H is the height of the prism. Height of prism. And the B is the base area right there. That's super important. So anyway, this is that formula. To take the surface area, you could take the perimeter of the base times the height of the prism plus 2 times the base area, and you would get the surface area. And that is a different method aside from just taking the area of each. You could take the area of each of these and add them together. That is the equivalent to this formula. You get the same answer. So let me show you this here. We have our official statement of that formula that I just showed you. And it's put into practice here, where Erin is making a jewelry box of wood in the shape of a rectangular prism. Okay, the jewelry box will have the dimensions shown. She plans to spray the exterior of the box. How many square inches will she have to paint? Okay, identify the base and its area and the perimeter. So the base. Any pair of opposite faces can be the bases. For example, you can choose the bottom and top of the box as bases. And we'll do that. So the base, we'll consider it's what it's sitting on, though it's not always what it's sitting on. But 12 times 15 will be our base, which is right here. 12 times 15 is 180. Save that. The perimeter of the base, P is the base perimeter. And that's what it says right here, is the base perimeter right there. So base perimeter is 12 plus 15 plus 12 plus 15. And so, or they say 2 12s, so there's 2 12s, and there's 2 15s. So you add them up. 2 12s is 24, and 2 15s is 30, and you add them up. That means the distance around that base is 54 inches. So we're going to save that information there. We're going to use in our formula. See, the B shows up right there, and the P shows up right here. So the height of the prism is 6 inches. Okay, that's pretty easy to see right there. And now we have all the numbers we need. The P, base perimeter, was 54. It was right there. And that's multiplied by the height, 6, right here. And then plus 2 times the base area. The base area is 180, so it's 2 times 180. 54 times 6 plus 2 times 180. So you have to multiply these two together. And you multiply those two together, and then you can add them together, and you get 684 square inches. So she'd have to spray paint 684 square inches of wood. Okay. We have a your turn question. A brand of uncooked spaghetti comes in a box that is a rectangular prism with a length of 9 inches, a width of 2, and a height of 1.5 inches. If I were to draw this, we have here's a quick way to draw these. That's a terrible rectangle, I understand. But if you just draw the rectangle and then you extend a line out like that, and then you connect these like this, you have this. If you want to go the extra mile and make it look more like this, you have to look at parallel lines. I'll make this line parallel to this line, so this will go about the same distance there, and then this line is going to be parallel to this line, and then the baselines can be parallel to that line. There you go. So it has a length of 9, so I guess I'll call this 9 here. And then we have a width of 2, so I'll call that 2, and a height of 1.5, 1 and 1/2. So what's the surface area of that? Well, it's 69 square inches. First, I found the area of the perimeter of the base. Okay, the perimeter of the base is 9 plus 2 plus 9 plus 2, or 18, because that's 9 times 2, 18, 18 plus 4. And the area of the perimeter of the base. So the 18 plus 4, 18 plus 4 is 22. So that's the base perimeter. And the area of the base is 9 times 2, which is 18. And then I use the formula to find the surface area. So the base area, and if we look at this and compare it to this, or I should say the perimeter, right here, my index finger is at perimeter times the perimeter of the base times the height, right here, plus 2 times the base area, 2 times the base area right there. And you multiply these two together. You multiply these two together, save it. Multiply these two together, save it. Add these two saved numbers together, and you get 69 square inches. Okay. We have finding the surface area of a composite solid. A composite solid is made up of 2 or more solid figures. To find the surface area of a complete solid, find the surface area of each figure, subtract any area not on the surface. So, Daniel built the birdhouse shown. What was the surface area of the birdhouse before the hole was drilled? Okay, so we identify our parts. What are all the parts? The top of the triangular prism is 24. It has a height of 24. So, right here, the top is in the height. And the height of that triangular prism that's the height of the base. The height of the prism is that distance between those two triangular bases. So the height of the prism is 24. The base of a triangle with height of 8 and base 30. So height of 8, base of 30. So that's going to help us with the area of the triangle there. And the bottom is a rectangular prism with height 18, and the base is 30 by 24. Okay, each face, one face of each prism is not on the surface of the figure. Okay, yeah. So we will use that. Find the surface area of each prism, add the surfaces, and subtract the areas of the parts that are not on the surface. Notice we can take the surface area of this prism here, but the top of the green isn't being used, so we're going to subtract that, as well as the bottom of the blue prism We're not going to use that. So we're going to find the surface area of everything. We're going to subtract out what's overlapping. Okay, surface area of the triangular prism. So surface area of the blue. The perimeter of that triangular prism is the perimeter of the base is 17 plus 17 plus 30. So that is the triangular prism. And we have 17. So what I have to do is I have to show you that what we have to do to find the surface area of this prism here, we had to know that the base is not the rectangle. The base is this triangle. We have to find the perimeter of that triangle, and that's 17, 17, 17, and 30. That's the perimeter of that base. That's why they have 17, 17, and 30. And then the base area is base times height divided by 2. And that's this. Base 30 times height 80 divided by 2. And that gives us 30 times 80 is 240 divided by 2 is 120. So using this for the surface area of the triangular prism, it would be the 64, the perimeter of the base, times the height. And the height of the prism is this right here. The height of the prism is 24. The height of the prism is the distance between the bases. And so we have 64 times the height. So the perimeter of the base times the height. And by the way, what I'm using right here is this surface area formula, which was mentioned over here. Okay, plus 2 times the base area, and the base area is 120, so 2 times 120. Multiply this, save it, multiply these two, save it, add those two products together, and you get 1776. Surface area of the rectangular prism. Perimeter of the base, 2 times 30 plus 2 times 24. So 2 times 30, because there's 2 of those, 2 times 24, because there's 2 of those. And you can't see the other side, but you have to imagine. And that's 108. Then the base area is 30 times 24, which is 720. Surface area, final surface area, is the perimeter of the base, which is 108, times the height. The height is 18 right there. And plus 2 times the base area, and the base area was just mentioned at 720. Multiply it, use the order of operations to get 3,384. So we're going to add them up and then subtract the areas that we're not using. So we're adding up our 2 surface areas, the triangular prism and the rectangular prism. So we add these 2 together, and we're adding them, but we have to subtract 2 times 720. Why do we have to subtract 2 times 720? Well, what we have to do is you have to remember that the bottom of the blue and the top of the green are overlapping, and the area of 30 times 24 is 720. So there's 2 of those. So that's why we're subtracting 2 of those overlapping areas. We end up with this, 3,384 square centimeters. I'm sorry. No, we don't. We end up with this, 3,720 right there. And so that's the surface area before the hole was drilled. You can check by using a net and add up those surface areas. Okay. So what I have is this problem here, and I'm going to zoom out. So we have Dara is building a plant stand. She wants to stain this plant stand except for the bottom of the larger prism. Okay, so you don't go under this box right here. Find the surface area of the part of the plant stand she will stain. So I'm going to take the surface area of the small box, surface area of the big box. I'm going to subtract what's overlapping in between those, and I'm going to subtract what's under this as well. Surface area of the small box, they're all 8s, and there's 6 of them. So I decided to just go with, okay, I didn't use the perimeter of the base and that whole formula. I just thought, well, 8 times 8 is the area of one of these sides, and there's 6 of them. So that's 384. That's the surface area of the small box. All sides, all 6 sides. I actually could have done it by 5. But anyway, so the surface area of the big box, well, each side is 12 by 12, so 12 by 12, and there's 6 sides to this total, 864. So the total surface area of everything put together is 1,248 square inches, but I'm going to remove the overlap. There's an overlap of 64 twice. Below the small one and above the big one, they overlap, so minus 64, minus 64. And I also have to subtract the bottom area underneath here. So that's 12 times 12 is 144. So I took the total, subtracted the overlap, 64 and 64, and the under part, and I had 976 square inches. And that is my final answer. And that is what you got to know about the surface area of composite figures and just surface area in general. Our formulas for that.